My name's Jake. I'm 32. And until a few months ago, I thought I was about to marry the love of my life. Her name's Rachel. We were together for 4 years, lived together for 2.5, had a dog, made plans, argued over wedding colors, the whole deal. She was smart, funny, quick with sarcasm, and always the one who made friends instantly at parties. She had this way of making me feel like the world was quieter when she was near. I thought I was the luckiest man alive. Her best friend, let's call her Kendra, was the opposite. Loud, blunt, always a little too comfortable sharing her opinion. The kind of person who didn't know how to whisper, even if you paid her. Rachel and Kendra had been best friends since high school. Kendra practically lived at our place. Girls' nights, brunches, wine Wednesdays, I didn't mind. I figured it was healthy for Rachel to have her person, just like I had mine. But here's the thing about people like Kendra. Eventually, they talk too much. It happened at a party. Just a small get-together at our place. A few friends from work, some of Rachel's people, and Kendra, obviously. We had music playing low, drinks flowing, a half-burnt pizza on the counter that nobody touched, and stories bouncing from room to room. I was in the kitchen refilling my drink when I heard it. Kendra's voice, unmistakable. "Well, it's not like he even knows about the weekend in Chicago, right?" I froze. The words were sharp, fast, and immediately followed by Rachel shushing her, a panicked hiss. I didn't even mean to eavesdrop. I wasn't trying to be that guy, but when your fiancé's best friend casually drops a sentence like that, your ears tune in whether you like it or not. Kendra laughed. "Relax, Rach. I'm joking. Sort of. Rachel. Seriously, not here." There was a pause, then footsteps coming toward the kitchen. I stepped away from the wall and pretended to be very interested in the ice tray. Rachel came in. She looked tense, too smiley. "Hey," she said, wrapping her arms around me. "Having fun?" "Yeah," I lied. "Kendra's drunk already?" She froze for a split second, then laughed. "Always. You know her?" "Chicago, huh? You two go there recently?" Another pause, barely noticeable. "A few months back. Girls' weekend. You remember?" "Right, girls' weekend." She kissed my cheek. "Babe, don't start interrogating me. It's a party." I let it go. For that moment, but in my head, the seed had been planted, and the thing about seeds, they grow. Fast. Especially when watered by doubt. That night, after everyone left and we were cleaning up, I watched her. The way she avoided eye contact. The way her laugh sounded forced. The way she checked her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. I didn't ask any more questions. I just observed. And I started thinking back. To the weekend in question. Late March. She said she was in Chicago with Kendra and 2 other friends. She posted one picture. A brunch plate, a mimosa, nothing else. No selfies, no group shots, just vibes. At the time, I didn't think twice. Now, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I didn't want to snoop. I didn't want to be that guy, but I couldn't ignore my gut. Something was wrong. Kendra had let something slip, and Rachel had shut it down like her life depended on it. So I started small. I asked her casually a few days later who went to Chicago with them. She named the same people as before. Her story was airtight. Too airtight. I called one of the girls she mentioned, Amy. We'd met at a barbecue once. "Hey, sorry to be weird," I said, "but Rachel's birthday's coming up and I'm planning a surprise." She loved that Chicago trip, right? I wanted to recreate it. Could you remind me what hotel you guys stayed at? Amy hesitated. What Chicago trip?" My stomach turned. "The one in March," I said slowly. "Oh, I didn't go to that. I thought it was just Rachel and Kendra." Boom. I thanked her, hung up, and sat in silence for a long time. That was the moment I knew. I didn't know exactly what had happened yet, but Rachel had lied. Not just a forgotten detail, a full-blown fabrication. And Kendra, she'd almost blown it. The question was, how much more was there to find? The next few days felt like walking through a fog, only now I knew there was a cliff somewhere ahead. I just didn't know how close it was, or how deep the drop. Rachel acted like nothing had happened. She cooked breakfast Sunday morning like she always did, humming some song she probably heard on TikTok. She sat across from me in her pajamas, sipping coffee, smiling like her whole world wasn't stitched together with quiet lies. I watched her, every movement, Every pause in her words, every glance at her phone, it's a strange feeling, pretending to trust someone while mentally pulling apart every detail they give you. I didn't say anything about the call with Amy. Not yet. I needed more, something solid, because as much as my gut screamed the truth, I still hoped, desperately, that there was some explanation, something stupid even, a surprise birthday plan, a misunderstanding, anything but what I was starting to believe. Kendra was the key. She'd let something slip. She was messy, sure, but messiness leaves trails, so I started following them. I went through Rachel's Instagram, not obsessively, just curiously. March, April, May. There weren't many posts, just a few filtered shots of lattes, books, sunsets, and that one brunch photo from the supposed Chicago weekend. I reverse-searched the cafe name. It wasn't in Chicago, it was in Milwaukee. I know that might seem minor, but to me it was the second red flag. Why lie about the city? Why claim Chicago at all? I found Kendra on Instagram next. Her stories from that same weekend were gone, of course, but I noticed something strange. In one of her older highlights, there was a boomerang of two hands clinking glasses. One of them was Rachel's. The other? A man's. Not mine. I paused the frame, took a screenshot, and zoomed in. The guy's wrist had a tattoo, a compass with some Roman numerals. Familiar. I scrolled through Kendra's tagged photos and found him. Tyler. Some guy she used to date years ago. I remembered him now. A mutual friend of theirs. He'd come to one of our parties once. He'd been drunk, loud, a little handsy. Rachel had laughed it off at the time. I dug deeper. Found a photo of Rachel and Tyler together, hugging. Not inappropriate, not scandalous, but close. Too close. And then the third hit came. Monday night, Rachel was in the shower. Her phone was on the nightstand, buzzing quietly. I shouldn't have. I know that, but I picked it up. Just one message lit up the screen. Tyler, thinking about you again. Last time wasn't enough. I nearly dropped the phone. I stared at it for a full minute. Then I placed it exactly where it was and sat on the edge of the bed, heart pounding. When she came out of the shower, I looked at her like she was a stranger, because in that moment, she was. She dried her hair with a towel, smiling. Want to watch something before bed? I nodded. Sure. We lay there side by side. I didn't hear a word of the show. Just the blood rushing in my ears. I had proof now. Not a hunch, not a slip of the tongue, a message from him. But I still didn't confront her. Why? Because I wanted to hear her say it, admit it. I didn't want this to end in a screaming match over a text. I wanted her to look me in the eyes and own it. So the next morning, I made a plan. I texted Kendra. Told her Rachel's birthday was coming and I needed help pulling together something small. Dinner, drinks, just the core group. She said sure. Suggested a few places, then added, "You're such a good guy, Jake." She doesn't deserve you. I stared at that for a long time. Then I replied, "What makes you say that?" No answer for 10 minutes. Then, Kendra, forget I said that, ignore me. Too late. So I pushed. Kendra, if you know something, tell me. I need to know. 5 minutes passed. Kendra, I thought she told you. Me. Told me what? Kendra, that she was seeing someone else. It was supposed to be a mistake. Just one time she said it ended. I stared at the screen. Everything inside me went still. Me. Tyler? No reply. Then finally, Kendra. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have said anything. Please don't tell her I told you. I didn't reply, because now I knew. All of it. Rachel had cheated, lied, hidden it behind trips, brunches, half-truths. And Kendra, blunt, messy Kendra, had spilled it. Not out of cruelty, out of carelessness, and maybe, somewhere in there, guilt. The worst part about betrayal isn't the act itself. It's how it rewires everything that came before it. Memories you thought were safe suddenly shift. Laughs sound different. Touches feel calculated. It's like someone reached into your past and redacted all the warmth. That's what the next few days felt like. Rachel was still acting like everything was fine. She kissed me on the cheek in the mornings, sent me memes during the day, even asked if I wanted to check out a wedding venue that weekend. I stared at her sometimes and wondered, was she this good at lying the whole time? Or did she just get better at it the longer it went on? I hadn't told her I knew. Not yet. I was building something, a moment. One where I could put the truth in front of her like a mirror and ask her to look. So I waited. And in the meantime, I played along. We went to dinner Friday night, sat on a patio strung with soft white lights, drinking wine and pretending we were still the people we used to be. She talked about flower arrangements. I nodded. She laughed about some TikTok she saw. I smiled. But all I could think about was Tyler, his tattoo, his message, and how she had come home from that weekend like nothing had happened. I wanted to scream. Instead, I paid the check. Back home, I stared at the ceiling for hours while she slept beside me. I couldn't touch her, couldn't even look at her. I kept thinking about how someone can lie so deeply and still sleep like a baby. Saturday morning, I made my move. "Let's invite Kendra over," I said casually. "Haven't seen her since the party." Rachel hesitated. "You sure?" "Yeah. It'll be fun," she texted her. Kendra showed up that afternoon with a bottle of wine and her usual loud energy, though I could see the tension behind her eyes the second we made eye contact. She knew. I kept things light, small talk, snacks, some background music. Then, halfway through a game of cards, I asked, "So how's Tyler?" The silence that followed was immediate and sharp. Kendra froze. Rachel went stiff. Kendra recovered first. "He's good, I guess." "Haven't seen him in a while." Rachel sipped her drink, didn't say a word. I leaned back, looking at Rachel. "Didn't you run into him in Chicago?" Another pause. Then Rachel gave a tight smile. "Number just saw him tagged in a bar post or something." "Why?" I shrugged. "Just curious. You used to know him pretty well, right?" She set her glass down. "Jake, what's going on?" That's when I pulled out my phone, opened the screenshot of Tyler's message, turned it toward her, her face drained of color. Kendra's eyes widened. I didn't say a word. I just watched. Rachel opened her mouth, closed it, looked at Kendra, then back at me. "Where did you get that?" "It doesn't matter." She stood up, paced, hands shaking. "It was a mistake. It only happened once. I was confused," Kendra muttered. "Jesus," and set her whine down harder than necessary. Rachel turned to her. "You told him?" "I didn't mean to," Kendra snapped. "It slipped out. I didn't know he didn't know. I thought—" "You thought what? That he'd never find out?" I stood up. "Enough." Rachel looked at me, eyes pleading. "Jake, I'm sorry. I wanted to tell you. I didn't want to lose you." "You lost me the second you lied, the second you looked me in the eye and pretended nothing happened." She reached for my hand. I stepped back. Kendra stood too. "I think I should go." "No," I said. "You should both go." Rachel's jaw dropped. "Jake, leave." She stared at me for a long time. Tears welled up, but I didn't care. She walked to the door, grabbed her purse, and left without another word. Kendra lingered. "I'm sorry, Jake, I really am." I didn't respond. She left too, and just like that, the apartment was quiet. Finally. I sat on the floor and let the silence settle. It didn't feel good, but it felt clean. I didn't know what would come next, but I knew what was over, and sometimes that's the first step toward something better. I didn't leave the apartment for 2 days. I needed the silence. I needed the stillness. I cleaned every room, rearranged the bookshelf, took down the little photos we'd pinned to the fridge, smiling vacation shots, Polaroids from brunches, goofy Halloween costumes. I dropped them all into a shoebox and shoved it to the back of the closet. I guess grief has stages, but betrayal has layers. It peels back things you didn't know were fragile, makes you question everything. By the 3rd day, I was restless, angry, not in the screaming sense, but in that deep, bone-tired way, like I'd been holding up a house of cards for 4 years and finally let go. So I called my brother. "Everything okay?" he asked. "You sound like you've been punched in the soul." "I need a place to crash for a bit." He didn't ask why, just said, "Come by." I packed a duffel bag, a few shirts, a toothbrush, the bare essentials. I left Rachel's ring on the dresser, not as a gesture, but because it felt like it weighed 10 pounds. When I got to my brother's place, he opened the door and took one look at me before saying, "Yeah, she messed up bad, didn't she?" I nodded. He handed me a beer. We didn't talk about it that night, just sat on the porch, watched the sun fall, and let the crickets fill in the silence. The next morning I told him everything. How Kendra slipped, the lies, the message from Tyler, Rachel's face when I showed her. He didn't say much, just listened. That's what I needed. That week was quiet. I started going for runs, cooked basic meals, stayed off social media. But Rachel wasn't done. She texted 3 times. Rachel, please talk to me. Rachel, I miss you. I made a mistake. Rachel, you said we were forever. I didn't answer. Then she emailed me, a long one, 4 paragraphs, apologies, explanations, promises. She didn't try to deny it. She admitted everything, said it was loneliness, that Tyler was just a stupid escape, and that she realized how much she loved me the second she saw my face when I found out. That line made me laugh, because if you have to hurt someone to figure out you love them, maybe you never really did. I didn't reply to the email either. Instead, I made a list, not of what she did, but of who I was before her. I used to write on weekends. I used to go rock climbing twice a month. I used to call my parents every Sunday. I used to cook, not just order in. I used to trust myself. Somewhere along the way, I had let all that go, piece by piece, and now I wanted it back. I found an apartment downtown, small but clean, no shared memories in the walls. When I moved in, I didn't take much, just clothes, my laptop, a photo of my parents, and my old climbing gear. I left everything else behind. Starting over isn't cinematic. It's not a grand montage with inspiring music. It's paperwork, packing, long silences, but it's also power. And slowly I started feeling it again. I went back to the rock gym. The first climb wrecked me. My arms burned, fingers slipped. But by the end of that week, I made it to the top of a route I never used to finish. I called my parents just to say hi. My mom cried. I picked up my journal, wrote 2 pages, just thoughts, fragments. But they were mine. I was rebuilding, one small stubborn piece at a time, and then, one evening, there was a knock at my door. I opened it, and there she was. Rachel. Her eyes were red. No makeup. She held a small box in her hands. Jake, she said, please, I just need 5 minutes. I stood there for a second, just looking at her. Rachel looked different. Not just tired, smaller somehow, like the lies had finally caught up to her, chipped away at her until only this version remained. Raw, worn, quiet. She held out the box. I didn't take it. What is that? I asked. Letters, she said softly. I wrote them this past week. I didn't know how else to explain things or ask for forgiveness, so I just wrote. I didn't say anything. I didn't reach for the box. Rachel's hands trembled. Jake, I'm not here to beg. I know I don't deserve that. I wanted you to have these, even if you never read them. I finally took the box. Not because I wanted it, but because standing in the doorway holding a box of regret wasn't helping either of us. Thanks, I said. My voice came out flat. She nodded. I'm sorry. I know. She looked like she might say more, but she didn't. She turned and walked back down the hall. Her footsteps echoed off the walls. I closed the door and set the box on the table. I didn't open it. Not that night. Instead, I sat down and stared at it while the city lights outside blinked and shifted like slow-moving stars. I wanted to feel something. Anger, sorrow, relief. But all I felt was tired. The next morning, I opened the box. Inside were 5 letters folded neatly and tied with a small string. Each had a date on the front. One was from before the Chicago trip, one from the week after, one from the night we fought about our future, and 2 more. Recent, raw. I read them all. She told the truth, piece by piece. How the Tyler thing started, through casual messages, nostalgia, unresolved feelings. How she felt trapped, even though I never tried to control her. How she knew it was wrong but convinced herself it didn't count if it was just once. How she hated herself afterward, but hid it under the routines we built. She said she never stopped loving me, but also admitted she didn't know who she was without me, and hated herself for that too. It was a confession, not a request. That at least I respected. I didn't reply, because what could I say? I forgive you? That would be a lie? Let's start over? That would be worse. The truth was simpler. I believed she meant it all. I believed she felt sorry. I even believed she still loved me in some way. But some lines, once crossed, changed the shape of everything. I didn't want her back. Not because I hated her, but because I loved myself more now than I did when I was with her. Weeks passed. I didn't see her again. Kendra texted once saying she hoped I was okay. I didn't answer. I spent time with my brother, got back into climbing regularly. I even joined a writer's group downtown. Every Thursday night, 6 of us sit around a long table and read what we've written that week. It's not about being good, it's about being honest. And honestly, some nights, the words come easier than others. Some nights I stare at a blank page and wonder how someone like me, careful, loyal, attentive, ended up blindsided. But then I remember, betrayal says more about the betrayer than the betrayed. And I'm not broken, just bruised. One Thursday night after the group, I stayed behind to help stack chairs. A woman I hadn't spoken to much, Claire, smiled at me. "You always write like you've been through hell," she said, "but you still sound hopeful." I shrugged. Guess that's all that's left after hell. Hope, she nodded. That, and knowing you'll never go back. That line stuck with me. I didn't respond, just smiled. But on the walk home, I realized something. I wasn't walking away from something anymore. I was walking towards something. And that made all the difference. 6 months later, I found myself sitting across from someone new. Her name was Claire, the same Claire from the writers' group, the one who said I still sounded hopeful. We'd slowly gotten to know each other. At first, just through reading each other's work, then coffee after meetings, then long walks home, and now this. Dinner. A real date, not a rebound, not a distraction, just 2 people trying to learn each other, the way people do when they've both been cracked open but not destroyed. Claire didn't ask about Rachel. I didn't bring her up. Not out of avoidance, but because some ghosts don't belong at the table anymore. We laughed that night, talked about books, travel, music that made us cry for no good reason. And somewhere between the second glass of wine and the check, I realized something I hadn't felt in a long time. I was fully present, not haunted, not waiting for the next betrayal, just there, open, steady. After dinner, we walked back to my place. The city was alive, buzzing with summer warmth, scattered conversations, distant music. When we reached my building, I paused. "Want to come up?" I asked. She smiled. "Only if we don't talk about writing." "Deal." We went upstairs. Nothing happened that night beyond 2 people sitting close on a couch, watching an old movie, sharing space. Her head eventually found my shoulder. I didn't flinch, didn't overthink it, just let it happen. Claire wasn't a replacement. She was a reminder that beginnings are still possible, even when the middle nearly ruins you. That weekend, I finally did something I'd been avoiding. I pulled out the old shoebox, the one with all the photos, the mementos of a life I no longer lived. I went through it slowly. Some things made me smile, others hurt, but none of it broke me. I kept one photo, me holding our dog, Scout, the day we brought him home. I'd forgotten how happy I looked. That smile was real. And it didn't belong to Rachel, it belonged to me. The rest of the box I burned, not out of rage, out of release. Because healing isn't always dramatic, sometimes it's quiet, private, a simple act of letting go. Weeks passed. Claire and I kept seeing each other. We weren't rushing, just learning how to exist in the same orbit. She was patient, honest, funny in that dry, observant way. Nothing like Rachel, that's probably why it worked. One afternoon while we were walking Scout together, she looked over and said, "You're different lately." "How so?" "Like someone who finally stopped bleeding." I nodded. "Feels like that too." She reached for my hand. I let her take it. There's no perfect ending to a story like this, no cinematic closure. Rachel never reached out again after the letters. I never responded. That chapter ended, not with slamming doors, but with silence, with choosing peace over chaos. And I'm okay with that, because now, when I think back to that night, the party, the overheard whisper, the unraveling, I don't feel bitterness. I feel grateful. Grateful that Kendra slipped up. Grateful that I listened to my gut. Grateful that the truth, no matter how painful, came out. It gave me my life back. And in the end, that's all any of us really wants. A life that's honest, a heart that's whole, and someone beside us who knows the worth of both.